Actually, what piqued my interest mostly, like I wrote in my book, in a place where I talked about the inspirational episode, was the degree of brotherhood and cosmic spirit between John Chukwu, late John Chukwu, my elder brother, and Ibrahim Alpha, who later became their friendship, the way they interacted, the way they related, to the extent that, after the Nigerian Civil War, Ibrahim Alpha immediately mobilized his friends to come and look for his friends, who was his friend, John, who was fighting on the other side. It was that a singular episode that really motivated me into belonging to these people that have so much love for themselves, despite political differences and all that, So, but naturally, I was also someone who loved, should I say, militant or strong things. I was athletic in nature, and I loved challenges. Yes, maybe, well.
Chris was fascinated by the smart appearance and regimentation of the Boy Scouts, so he joined the movement. He loved the training, especially the paramilitary outdoor activities. In 1979, when he graduated from secondary school, Christian indicated his desire to join the Nigerian Air Force, but his mother and his entire family refused because of two reasons. One, memory of the Biafra War, and two, everyone had thoughts of same career path that saw the untimely death of his elder brother John. Well, Chris was quick enough to remind them that his elder brother John did not die on hazards of flying. In any case, his mind was made up, so he attended the selection and interviews for the Cadets Military Training Course CMCT5 in Kaduna, and he was successful. Thus, Chris joined the Nigerian Air Force on the 26th of October 1979 as a potential pilot regular cadet.
I noticed you released a book, The Wings of Distinction, Memoirs of a Fighter Pilot. Now tell me about this book. What inspired you to write this?
You wouldn't believe that the first attempt to write something on me was by a cousin who later contributed to it, one Mr. Adindo. And I was even still in the Air Force then. And he felt that I had an excellent record that should be put down. But along the line, actually, he stalled and didn't go forward with the book. But when I now retired, and I also looked back at my early days, and there are certain things I never knew about myself in childhood that my mother began to tell me, my brothers and sisters began to relate, and then I linked it up to my own experience in growing up. And something told me that I was not I was among the unique people. When I realized that I was among the unique people, I now said, look, I rose, that's number one, I rose to the peak of professional career without really having anything to do with the so-called Nigerian way of lobbying and all that. If I could do that, my mentors when I was in school were all dead anyway, so nobody could say that he pushed Christian Chukwu to this level. Or I needed to tell my story so that young professionals will also see that by sheer diligence and excellence in what you do, you will rise despite the imperfections of our system in acknowledging merit. You will rise to the peak of your career.
AVM Chukwu's aviation career saw him through trainings in Nigeria and USA, as well as combat exploits especially in Liberia and Sierra Leone. Chukwu rose through various ranks and positions in the Nigerian Air Force to serve as Air Officer commanding in two major commands, Training Command and Air Mobility Command, as well as being the Chief of Administration and the Air Secretary at the peak of his career.
Okay, you talked about the invasion and escape from Nenwe. Should that be a place, like a growing place or your village?
Yes.
Okay.
Nenwe is my hometown, and in 1968, when I was 68, 67 years, when I was like 8 years old, that was when the federal troops overran Enugu. That Nenwe is close to Enugu,
Okay.
and of course overran my town, Nenwe. And the experience of having to run from our hometown, from federal troops that were attacking the Biafra was, how should I say, it's unforgettable. And well, I remember that there were shells that flew over the village and was landing on the other side of the village, and you knew that these shells were coming from the enemy side then, but
Okay.
landing on the French side, so we were confused which way to run.
Wow.
So there was pandemonium, and we ran, everybody panicked and picked whatever they could handle. My daddy picked up his double-barrel gun. Everybody screamed, "No, drop it, drop it. If they see you, they..."
Was he an officer?
No, he was an officer. Double-barrel gun just for hunting, probably just
Okay.
home gun. No. He felt that, because in confusion, you just picked whatever came to your hand. And people said, no, if they see you, they'll think you're a soldier. Yeah, and then he had to drop it and pick up his bicycle. So we vacated the village, ran towards the farm, and only to run to a place where there was a big river. It was rainy season, and the river was really over flooded, and people were trying to cross and getting drowned. You know, I remember people trying to cross, and then we got stopped there, and we had to retrace our steps when we saw couldn't cross the river. Like I said in this book, it looked like when we were, the children of Israel got to the Red Sea and couldn't cross.
The realities were truly dawned on Chris the day Nenwe fell into the hands of federal troops. The story of Avian Chukwu is laced with adventures. During his undergraduate pilot training in the United States in 1982, he caused some anxiety for his instructors. On a solo shot one fateful night, his jet developed an electrical fault. The control tower advised Chukwu to declare emergency so that he could be given priority landing. This daredevil and self-assured fighter pilot in the making declined the advice and went ahead to perfectly land the jet with what they call EXTD. Excellent touchdown.
So you were that Nigerian student who flies around at night without light.
The episode of that Nigerian
Tell me
who
about
flies
it.
around. Yes, as a student pilot at Reese Air Force Base
Okay.
in Lubbock, Texas, where I did my pilot training. They call it undergraduate pilot training.
Okay.
Reese was exceptionally very suspicious of foreign students, and so you have to prove yourself, especially when you're an African. And it looked like the one of the flying training exercises is that at the end of night flying, you had to go solo. After you went solo on day flying, at night flying you also had to go solo. And that is fly your airplane alone to a destination and then come back. So my airplane developed problem and all the lights went out, except the instrument lights, in interior lights in the cockpit and instrument lights. And what happens in that case is that you will be comfortable inside. Okay, you have to fly instrument. And of course, if you look outside, you will see other lights,
Okay.
but no other person could see me. And my landing lights that should be used to round up the touchdown was not working. The tower became apprehensive and declared asked me to declare emergency, that they're going to give me priority to come and land, blah, blah. They mobilized all the ambulance and everything. And I said, no, I didn't need all that. I could see the runway, I could see the lights, I could see everything, just that you can't see me. So trust me, I'm bringing this airplane down. And of course, so it went, and I brought the airplane down safely. And each landing in pilot training, there's a way they grade it. There are monitoring, there are ground stations monitoring how smooth you land, and they grade it. Sometimes they call it balloon. If you did bang, 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 they tell you to get on some airlines that the driver, pilot's not really. If you make a smooth touchdown is described as EXTD, that is excellent touchdown. And that surprised everybody that I could land the airplane in the dark without the landing light that comes under the airplane that shows the ground. And so it's changed the mentality of the whole.
You were a professional.
Yes.
A very good pilot.
That incident raised his profile, but also earned him the sobriquet, that Nigerian student who flies around at night without light. In 1982, after most of his classmates had departed to the United Kingdom for helicopter training, he was nominated for undergraduate pilot training, UPT, in the United States of America, alongside with Cadet Ahmad Iya, Ashu Mukhtar, and Osi Gwejafor.
Now let's go down to where you talked about the operational memo of a pilot, fighter or a fighter pilot. Tell me about it. Tell me about the whole operational moment, the experiences, the challenges, and of course the beauties around it.
It's a big question you've asked me now, because it is you want me to put something like 20 years of flying escapades in 1 or 2 paragraphs. I don't know how to do that. The fighter flying is a feeling that you can only understand if you are up there. A few times we had to take non-pilots, like journalists like you, cameramen like you, up there to try and see if they picture the formation flying of the other airplanes. Their reaction and to give us the understanding that, look, you had to be groomed to survive this environment, because in that type of flying there is a lot of maneuver. We call G maneuvers. You load your body, and your weight becomes about 3, 4, 5 times your weight, and your skin can sag down. The helmet becomes heavier in such a pool. What you feel in an elevator, like when the elevator suddenly moves up sharply, something like 10 times of that is what you feel. And for a prolonged period, the blood in your head could actually move down to the point where your vision begins to diminish. But of course, with proper training, you have to relax such a maneuver so that you don't pass out. One of the ways training sessions actually simulate our being over-G'd in a chamber to that level, or being subjected to lack of oxygen in a hyperbaric chamber, they call it, to that level. You are made to be doing something, maybe writing or calculating, and then they keep removing the oxygen from the chamber, and then you keep feeling drowsy and weak till at a time many people exhibit different tendencies. Some hands begin to twitch, some you are writing, you cannot write well, some just begin to just weep, and everybody has its limits. If you get your limit, it's called time of useful consciousness without oxygen. When you are about passing out, they press a button and give you oxygen in your nose. And so being up there is somehow difficult to describe. Now, in the combat phase, again, it's like I said, the fighter flying is something you must do with courage, with confidence, and people misunderstand it as pride. If you are going to face another pilot or another ground station shooting at you, you have to believe that you are better than them, or else you won't have the confidence to do that. That belief that you are better than your counterpart, your adversary, you carry it into the life. You also carry it into the mess, carry it into your daily life. Because if you don't believe that you are the best of among the best of the best, you will not perform well.